continuing to show up for the fight for our freedoms in all forms. Before we begin, let us sing our national anthem all together now.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love, in all our sons command, with glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. Far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Woo! That was great, thank you. First, I want to mention our new schedule for the remaining of this year. We will be having a Remembrance Day Lest We Forget ceremony on Saturday, November 10th, behind City Hall here at the Peacekeepers Monuments, with all the other monuments, at the foot of Wentworth Street. We meet at 10 a.m. We're looking for some volunteers to do some readings and wreath placings. If anybody wants to help with that, please let me know. November 18th will be the Worldwide Rally for Freedom 14.0. December 2nd will be our 3rd year anniversary. And December 16th will be our last rally for 2023, and there will be some snacks and drinks. We return in the new year with our first rally on January 13th of 2024. Okay, that said, our rally today is to talk about the United Nations, the World Health Organization, and the World Economic Forum, and the reasons why Canada should be exiting from these unelected organizations. Let's start with the World Economic Forum for a minute. Another self-elected organization that wants to control every government in every country around the world, with the founder Martin Schwab as the leader, a German engineer, economist, and founder and acting chairman of the World Economic Organization since 1971. He is a modern-day Nazi wanting power, control, and all of your wealth. He just cannot stand it that the commoner like you and I own anything, and has quoted the term, "You'll own nothing and you'll be happy about it." During the Third Reich, his father moved from Switzerland to Germany in order to assume the role of a director of an industrial company and contractor for the Nazi regime. Klaus Schwab co-authored a book with Thierry Maleret called COVID-19, The Great Reset, resetting the world to benefit them, not the 99% of non-globalists, is their main game plan. Klaus Schwab advocates a stakeholder capitalism to replace today's financial capitalism. In its book, that will find a broad readership despite its weaknesses, because it offers hope for oppressed minorities and youth, and hope for the system of modern capitalism by transforming its logic to build back better. This is the agenda, the direction of nationalizing all industry and wipe out small businesses. They are deliberately trying to reduce international travel by reduced population pollution and to prevent mass uprising against the new communist agenda, which is moving from socialism, where you still own something, to communism, where the government owns everything. In their new Green Deal, climate change alarmism, Klaus has quoted, "Polluters will have to pay to emit carbon dioxide. There will be a global price on carbon. This will help make fossil fuels history." Well, he certainly got through to one country, right? The country that has infiltrated with its young global leaders. Yep, our Canada, the one Northern American country to be charging its citizens a carbon tax and we barely produce any carbon. The real danger we face today is the likes of this World Economic Forum and its vision for a new communist green world order, and Klaus Schwab is the new Karl Marx. This is the greatest organized conspiracy in human history. You will know nothing in 7 years, but you will also have no rights. It's nothing but criminal. That's the World Economic Forum. Now let's look at another unelected organization that wants to control every country in the United Nations, all 194 of them. That's the World Health Organization, the WHO, with a dictator general that makes all the decisions, that can veto the committee advisors' recommendations without batting an eye. Currently, the 194 states have adopted the International Health Regulation Amendments and have until December 1st of this year to vote on these amendments. In one of the articles of the proposed amendments is the striking out of the fundamental freedom of persons with full respect for the dignity and human rights, which separates the individuality of people on earth and instead focuses on groups. There's no such thing as group rights. There are individual rights, because rights are either given or taken away from individuals. And it's individuals historically who have suffered. That is just one of the proposed changes of the International Health Regulations that the WHO is banking on. Also, they want to be able to have control of every state when it comes to declaring a pandemic, whether it is from disease or climate. And now they want to control all information. They want to declare what is misinformation and disinformation. Can you imagine the censorship then? This would be a massive overreach by the World Health Organization if these amendments are adopted. In Chapter 3 of the Pandemic Treaty, it should be noted that under Article 25, relationship with other international agreements and instruments, one state, the implementation of the WHO Pandemic Treaty shall be guided by the Charter of the United Nations and the Constitution of the World Health Organization. There you have it. The WHO wants to declare its own constitution and use the UN Charter during the declaration of an emergency or pandemic. Each member state would have to relinquish their constitution and charters in lieu of the UN and WHO unelected organizations' constitutional charters when the dictator general commands. This is very, very concerning. Every 194 nation states should exit the criminal WHO immediately, or they risk losing all their sovereignty. Now let's just talk about the United Nations with their 194 nation state members, which Canada is a long-standing member. This is where Agenda 2030 was born, with their 17 Sustainable Development Goals, in which the comprehensive sexuality education was mandated to be inclusive in all 194 states' educational curriculums. Sorry, I get a dry patch. United Nations Global Guidance on Sexuality Education outlines a set of learning objectives beginning at the age of 5, when formal education typically begins. However, sexuality education is a lifelong process, they say, and sometimes should begin earlier. These mandates are to have sexuality taught to children at the earliest age possible. For them, commencing at birth would be just fine. Their 17 sustainable goals might sound good, but when you actually translate them, you can see it is just another grab of globalism and to control people. Not even calling them citizens, but global citizens. Being an individual is a major no-no to their goals. Indoctrinating everyone, especially the children, is their main goal. I'll give you a couple examples. Let's take a look at Sustainable Development Goal number 5. Achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. Okay, sounds good, right? Well, here's a translation. Population control through forced family planning, criminalize Christianity, marginalize heterosexuality, demonize males and promote the LGBTQ agenda everywhere. The real goal is never equality, but rather the marginalization and shaming of anyone who expresses any male characteristics whatsoever. The ultimate goal is to feminize society, creating widespread acceptance of gentle obedience, along with the self-weakening ideas of communal property and sharing everything, because only energy has the strength to rise up. Only the males have energy and the strength to rise up against oppression and fight for human rights. The suppression of male energy is the key to keeping the population in a state of eternal acquiescence, which is the reluctant acceptance of something without protest. Does that sound familiar at all? They're feminizing men because real men will fight back. Let's look at another one of their Sustainable Development Goals. Number 7, ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. You all can see where this is going, right? Modern energy. Well, here's a translation. Smart grid with smart meters on everything. Peak pricing, penalize coal, gas, and oil while pushing doomed-to-fail green energy subsidies to brain-dead startups headed by friends of our government leaders who all go bankrupt in 5 years or less. The green startups make for impressive speeches and media coverage, but because these companies are led by corrupt idiots rather than compatible entrepreneurs, they always go broke. Sounding familiar? Carbon taxing that allegedly reduces carbon. Yet in 8 years, we have only seen 2 renewable sources that are constantly being pushed, solar and wind, which are both useless in North America, especially Canada. And now Trudeau wants to give away heat pumps. Another brain-dead France cram theme that won't work in -20 or below temperatures. Let's look at another one. Sustainable goal number 10. Reduce inequality within and among countries. Translation? Even more regional government bureaucracy. Punish the rich, the entrepreneurs, and the innovators, confiscating nearly all gains by those who choose to work and excel. Then redistribute the confiscated wealth to the masses of non-working human parasites that feed off a productive economy while contributing nothing to it, all while screaming about equality. That is exactly what they want to do with this universal basic income, to ensure dependence on the government handouts, creating more jobs that cannot be filled due to not wanting to work when getting a guaranteed paycheck to do nothing at all. Let's look at one more sustainable goal, number 14. Conserve and sustainably use the oceans, seas, and marine resources for sustainable development. Sounds reasonable, right? Well, let's translate that. Environmental restrictions control all oceans, including mineral rights from the ocean floors. Ban most ocean fishing, plunging the food supply into an extreme shortage and causing runaway food prices, inflation that puts even more people into economic desperation. Criminalize the operation of private fishing vessels and place all ocean fishing operations under the control of the government, central planning. Only allow favored corporations to conduct ocean fishing operations and make this decision based entirely on which corporations give the most campaign contributions. So there you have it. The United Nations agenda, total enslavement by 2030. This UN agenda is going to be forced upon all citizens of the world through the invocation of government coercion. Nowhere does this document state the rights of the individual will be protected. This UN is planning nothing less than a global government tyranny that enslaves all of humanity, while calling the scheme sustainable development and equality. global government takeover of every nation across the planet. Nowhere does this document state that achieving human freedom is one of its goals. Only centralized government control and totalitarian mandates that resemble communism. The United Nations is run by representatives of vile authoritarian regimes that are always looking for ways to control their respective populations, as well as those of other countries. Like Global Political Manifesto pushed by the United Nations, this Agenda 2030 essentially stripped individuals of their freedom while asserting centralized control over private property. Sustainable development is the action plan to inventory and control all land, all water, all minerals, all plants, all animals, all construction, all means of production, all information, all energy, and all human beings in the world. The people must demand through their elected representatives that the UN power grab be stopped. So we are encouraging everyone to sign the e-petition started by Conservative MP Leslie Lewis. This e-petition was open for signatures on October 10th and will be closed for signatures on the morning of February 7th of 2024. Petition to the House of Commons and Parliament assembled named E4623 under Foreign Affairs. So please find it and sign it. It states, Canada's membership in the United Nations and its subsidiary organizations like the WHO imposes negative consequences on the people of Canada, far outweighing any benefits. Canada's agreement to participate in the UN WHO Comprehensive Agenda 2030 undermines national sovereignty and personal autonomy. Agenda 2030 and its operational sustainable development goals, comprehensive sexuality education, UN judicial review, international health regulations, One Health, and similar programs are being rapidly implemented absent the awareness and consent of the people or their elected representatives. Sustainable development goals have negative impacts on potentially every aspect of life, including religious and cultural values, family relations, education, nutrition, child development, property rights, economic and agricultural productivity, transportation, travel, health, informed consent, privacy, and physical autonomy. Under the Comprehensive Sexuality Education, publicly funded educational institutions are damaging children while concealing information from parents. Normalization of sexual values and activities with regard to children are endorsed and enforced, beginning at birth. Agenda 2030 and secretly negotiated amendments to the international health regulations could likely impose unacceptable, intrusive, universal surveillance, violating the rights and freedoms guaranteed in the Canadian Bill of Rights and the Charter of Freedom and Rights. And these sweeping impacts on public and private life serve the interests of the UN and the WHO and unelected private entities like the World Health Economic Forum, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, International Planned Parenthood Federation, etc., while diminishing the health rights and freedoms of Canadians. We did not elect them. They do not own us. Our freedom depends on Canada exiting these power-hungry tyrant globalists who only want to rule over us, control us, and take away all our wealth. It's past time to exit these unelected organizations now. It's about breaking your will to fight. They need you to surrender. They need you to give up hope because there is too many of us. We outnumber them, and if we don't give up and don't submit, they have no choice. They have no chance. They just don't want us to know that. That's a quote by Laura Logan. The longer we do not comply, the more desperate they become. The more desperate they become, the crazier the demands. The crazier the demands get, the more people wake up. And the more people that wake up, the less powerful they become. Never never let anyone take away your freedom because of the greater good. Freedom is the greater good. Remember that. Remember that the United Nations plans require biometric identification and birth registration for all humans on Earth. Otherwise, their plan cannot go into effect. They need to encompass every woman, man, child on the planet into a digital ID. They're taking the world for themselves, and that means taking it away from you and you and you and me. Are you going to let them?
No.
Margaret Mead quoted, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. We the people can make change, and right now, the only way to do that is through massive non-compliance. That is the only way. They know it. Now we the people need to know it. We must resist the tyranny." I will quote one more person, our favorite MEP, Christine Anderson, and she has said, "Take a good look at your government and do not assume for a single second, just because they were democratically elected, that they will not inflict the worst atrocities on you. Do not believe that for a second. So please stand up, get up, fight already. Do it now. There's no such thing as a little freedom, a little democracy, a little rule of law. Just as there is no such thing as a little enslavement. That's the choice. It comes down to it's either us or them. Simply say no. They want you to wear a mask? Say no. They want you to take another shot? Say no. They want to enforce curfew on you? Say no. That's really all you have to do. As long as you are afraid what they might do if you do not comply, they have power over you. Take the power away from them. Simply say no. Simply do not let them grind you down anymore. You are worth it. You are deserving of just standing up for yourselves. She is so right. We need to take our power back by saying no and not complying to their tyranny. So what message do I have for those tyrannical globalists? Me? I say, I will not comply.
I will not comply.